My extra credit video lab report is pattern formation and why the universe is not boring, and the presenter was Stephen Morris, and I am Oscar Ocampo, and we will go into the depth of how these pattern formations are actually occurring and why they are not arbitrary. Now, the main topic about this whole lecture is the fact that patterns are driven based off a dynamic state. What does that mean? Is that the whole system, the whole earth, nature, is not in equilibrium. Rather, stuff like entropy and convection are what cause certain patterns, which is, for example, an example of a dynamic system is the sun and the earth, where entropy occurs when the sun shoots low entropy radiation to the earth, and the earth receives it, but at the same time shoots out a certain magnitude of photons out into space, which is just an example of energy being dissipated, and entropy is an example of a dynamic state. Now, another thing that was crucial was friction is very crucial. It is most important in providing structure to the universe by dissipating new energy by forming these new structures, these patterns. For instance, this picture. As you see, these patterns are created by the friction, which is the friction in the grinding and of the grains and the rocks as the earth is constantly changing. Now, another thing is stability is key in nature, not optimally. For instance, like the river in nature, like the mean river, it could not be straight because erosion would continue until it formed its ideal shape, which is the snake-like figure. So, in reality, nothing is optimal. It is only created. Now, the emergent patterns, for example, in the moving of soil, as you can see right here, is because the soil is actually ratcheted around, and the bigger grains get pushed up to form some circular, in this case, this rigid kind of style of pattern, or dune style. And as this occurs, the pattern is actually formed. Another example is like in Canada, the thawing of the ice on the rocks actually make those stripe patterns. So the constant thawing and icing create those kind of segregated stripe-like structures. One other example could also be the beach cups that you see on the beach. This is, by the way, this is another example of the ridges being formed. And the beach cups the beach cups are due to tiny fluctuations in the flatness of the beach causing these cups. So any fluctuations in the flatness of the beach actually distort the wave pattern to create those cusp-like shapes. And then going back to this idea, see, this is the sand dune in the Namibian desert, and as you can see, these tiny undulations right here in the sand are caused by the wind that blows over the actual sand. But due to its undulation of the actual sand, it changes the actual wind's course, and it is what causes these ripples. And as you can see, these ripples are actually very uniform, and we honestly cannot explain this, but besides saying that the ripples are emergent because the sand is actually uniformly distributed. And actually, this makes sense because the Maxey experiment, which shows how the friction creates an oscillatory form of distribution, creating a pattern that is not uniform. This is seen when the sand forms cusps and develops patterns, as you can see in the Namibian desert. Now, as I did some research, I came into the realization that entropy, friction, and convection are what cause these formations and the patterns. Convection is the transferring of heat that causes the patterns in the air. However, they are not visible unless you present some kind of like smoke in the room, which is an example of the Rayleigh-Bernard convection experiment, which as he was convected into a bowl of water, the air around it actually started forming patterns, but these were only visible with the smoke. Also, a new idea I learned is that galaxy patterns are not arbitrary. Rather, it is formed by the fact that every body of star moves away from each other and all at different speeds. That is, the farther the body from each other is from other masses, the faster its velocity. So this constant separation in different velocities and the gravitational force cause these circular kind of type galaxy patterns. Lastly, as I did research in the natural patterns of sand dunes, as you can see right here, The ripples are actually caused by the constant transferring of rotational and translational kinetic energy from the wind. And as the grains go back into the earth, they dissipate energy in the form of friction, which causes some type of heat, which causes the grains to roll and rub into each other to form these kind of stripe-like patterns. And, however, the interesting fact is that the actual length of these stripes grows over time. Rather, this actually demonstrates that the system is not in equilibrium. And so, in the end, I learned that patterns in nature are not just there. They are formed because nature is in a constant dynamic state.